Hey guys, it's Tim coming at you with a Halloween related video for this week. When John Carpenter's Halloween first came out, not only did it set the stage for the burgeoning slasher subgenre in horror, but its main antagonist, Micheal Meyers, was propelled into pop culture stardom. The second film in the series continued the story from the first film, but ended with Micheal seemingly being killed off. After this, the third Halloween film, Season of the Witch, was a major departure from the previous two. Not only did it not feature any characters from the first two films, but those films were fictional in the world of Halloween 3. This was because it was decided at that point to make the Halloween franchise an anthology, featuring different stories that happened to take place on Halloween night. At the time, fans responded negatively to this change, to the point that Micheal Meyers was brought back for every subsequent sequel. But was it the best idea to drop the anthology idea? For fans of the series, especially at the time, you can understand where they're coming from. Not only was it a change in characters, but a different type of film. It's still horror, but on a less personal level than the slasher nature of the first two films. It has the vibe of a more adult Goosebumps. Keep in mind that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the previous two films followed the same story. Changing up with the third threw people off. Ultimately, that's likely a large factor in why the anthology idea became dead on arrival. Had they done the switch over at 2 instead, likely would have stood a better chance of succeeding, since the audience would have known right away where the franchise stood. But was bringing back Micheal Meyers the right option? In most of the slasher genre, the main killer is the face of the franchise and what brings people coming back. But as shown with franchises like Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street, trying to do an extended franchise about a guy killing a rotating cast of victims can go off the rail or stagnate over time. And that's what happened with Halloween after Season of the Witch. They kept trying to either recapture the first film or kept adding elements to keep it interesting or bring in a modern audience. The films had a pretty steady decline in quality after that, leading to things like The Thorn Cult and Tyra Banks. Had they kept the anthology idea, this would have had a less likely chance of happening. The only rule they would have had to follow is that the story must take place on Halloween, which means the series would have had more options to keep it fresh. They could do a thriller about a parent whose child was abducted while trick-or-treating, or a modern take on monster movies like The Wolfman. They'd likely keep the horror aspect each time, but they could mix it up in new and creative ways. This seemed to be the direction John Carpenter wanted to go. He left the director's chair after the first, but stayed on as a producer for Halloween 2 and 3, alongside original producer and co-writer of the first film, Deborah Hill. Both of them believed in the potential of Halloween to be an anthology series, and Season of the Witch's director and writer, Tommy Lee Wallace, even said that there were many plans for Halloween-based stories that could even branch off into their own series. But the disappointing box office and critical response at the time put the kibosh on that. Like I said, they kinda shot themselves in the foot by not starting the anthology idea until the third film. The formula had already been established by that point, and because people wanted it back, it led to a very uneven series following the constantly resurrecting Micheal Meyers and Laurie Strode. Whether or not Halloween 3 is your kind of film, when compared to The Curse of Micheal Meyers and Halloween Resurrection, it's far from the worst film in the franchise. A change in pace would likely have been good for the series if they wanted to continue for as long as they did. Plus, if they had another story they wanted to tell about Micheal Meyers, they could always tell that story. Anthologies and comic books and television have had sequel stories before. They wouldn't have to abandon the Meyers story completely, but having different stories to mix things up between those stories would give them more room to breathe and try out new ideas. But what do you guys think? Do you think they should have stuck with the slasher genre like they did, or would the anthology idea have been a good way to go? Well, as always, let us know your thoughts down in the comments, but until next time, this has been Tim from the Hybrid Network, signing out.